The werewolf and his companions tried to hold the castle walls against superior odds. What will happen in this week's episode?
Hello, it's episode 211, and we're still in the medieval period. Just some quick sort of housekeeping things. If you go to the description-y thing, that bit of writing down there, you can see it just there. You can go to loads of links for things. Obviously, our partners, Grendel Press, just the best horror publishing house there is around at the moment. Amazing work that they do, and they have some of the best written stuff around at the moment. Yeah, just go for it. Go down there and pick some books. What else? Oh yeah, merchandise. If you want one of our t-shirts, you can pre-order it through Odin Apparel. Their link is down there as well. What else? Oh yeah, you can buy our books. You could even contribute to the costs of making this thing if you want by buying us a coffee. It's all completely up to you. If you want us to, be sponsored by you, you want to sponsor a program or an episode, give us a shout. That'd be useful. And apart from that, listen and try it and enjoy, because I think this one's dead ace, because it's like got werewolves in it that are killing
the mighty warrior who saved Tancerville. Lord Percy, it gives them a thrill. The bastards were thrown off the walls at my will. Lord Percy, he saved Tancerville.
William Marshal.
So, who are these people, William?
My lord asked. They are a bunch of bastards, sir, I told him.
That they may be, but who are they?
That is exactly who they are. Cypriot mercenaries. The bastards. Les enfants illegitimates.
Ah, then, that bodes ill. Why are they so far north? They have a savage reputation.
The Lord said. I would think that it's the amount of money that the new Count de Perigod,
the direct descendant of Charlemagne,
echoed from Gervais Tancred. Yes, that's quite right. Him is placing in their coffers, sir, I told him.
Oh, so what is it these men want then, William?
Asked my Lord de Tancerville. Well, not really a lot, my lord. A small token, I told him.
Well, then let's give it to them. Let them be damned. We will meet them on the field in the future when we are not poor in numbers. That will teach them,
he said, laughingly.
Yes, William. Give it to them and let them be damned,
repeated the sycophantic Percy, slapping his thigh.
Ah, damn it. They must not know that I, Lord Percy, Duke of Northumberland, they must not know that I'm here. I tell you what, Lord, would you like me to go and speak through these bounders, these rapscallions, and let them know that they will deal with my ire if they press?
He asked. My Lord de Tancerville strangely liked Percy. We all did, and it was strange. We knew he was a coward, you see, but for some reason, we loved that about the man.
No, Sir Percy the Brave.
He walked over and put his arm around the shoulders of the gangly tall man, holding him uncomfortably close.
We must hold you in reserve, just in case they take further steps. Knowing you are there makes me feel much, much safer during these discussions,
he told Percy quietly. Percy beamed and turned away from the Lord as Tancerville looked at us and raised his eyes in reaction to Percy's idea.
I will give them just what they want. That's the best thing to do in this scenario. We'll give them what they want,
repeated the Lord. Gervais, who had somehow managed to find a second tankard of ale, Laughed out loud, he did.
Yes, Will. Given what they want, well, it's not like it's important to you or anything, is it?
He said as he drank. Ah, Lord, that is somewhat difficult for me, I told him. You see, they want my head, they do. They want it, and it alone, without the rest of me attached to it, you see, I said, taking my hand through my hair.
Ah, I see. For I have grown fond of it over the years and would rather not remove it from where it is. We'll have to find something which is a bit more acceptable, eh?
The great man laughed in response.
Right. Well, we need another avenue then, don't we?
Well, there is the way of the wolf. Fenrir and I could go and cause a little havoc in their midst, we could. I could run their horses off and kill many, I told him.
Yes. It is tempting, it really is, but I'm afraid I do not like the idea of you exercising that demon unless it is completely necessary.
I felt Fenrir's anger. But to all but myself, he does seem like a demon, he does. Even if the demon is on the right side of the Lord. Is it okay for a demon to serve God?
We will keep you in reserve. And I, my lord. Yes, Percy. We just need to outlast this siege and wait for my army in the north to return.
The battlements. The wind on the battlements smelled of smoke, stale rain, and a kind of damp resignation that usually accompanied sieges, and bad poetry. I leaned against the cold stone, squinting down at the haphazard lines of tents and siege engines gathering like a gout-ridden army of termites at the foot of his castle walls. The attackers had surrounded the castle. This had cut off our supply routes and prevented messages from being sent to our army in the north. We were well provisioned and the walls were strong. We could only hope our soldiers would return before too long. The Count's camp had been erected just out of bowshot, with palisades and makeshift defenses. Their intention was to starve us out or demoralize us into surrender. But they knew that their time was limited. They would soon try to take the walls. They had already tried to play games with our minds. They had strung up 4 foragers and a scout that had been taken by them. They had done so loudly and in a grand ceremony before us at noon. They had not allowed us the opportunity to do anything to stop the hanging. They just went ahead and did it for all to see. Then, to add more pain to those of us watching, they gutted the men whilst they wiggled on their ropes. In the late afternoon, the naked bodies of several women were dumped on the road at the gate. The women had not been treated kindly. They had been the plaything of the bastards. The bastards who left those they heard in the mud still living and crying before our gates. I talk of the joy of war. I do talk of its purity. This was my first lesson in finding out it wasn't so. We tried to reach those women, we did. But they were shot, as were the men who approached for the rescue. We saw brave men fall to help those poor, wretched women. The Count would pay for this, he would. The bastards would pay for this. I was itching to become the wolf and rip the throats and tear the heads from the shoulders of the bastards. But my lord stayed my hand. To add to the harassment the besiegers offered, the men on the battlements had archers letting fly at them from secret spots all day. Earlier in the day, a group of skirmishers had run at the gates with fire pots to try and set them alight. Many had been taken by Gervais, Percy, and I with bows. But it was with luck that the wood of the chateau was wet from the incipient weather, or we would have been gateless that day. Cowards they are. Cowards. As the early evening darkness fell, we could see the glow of the fires from farms and homesteads burning in the distance, with our bitter eyes upon them. We all felt the hurt that these things caused, but as men of war, there was naught to do but to try and remain an element of moral. We had to try not to fall into anger or sadness. I know it seems harsh, but all that was being done was finding homes in our minds. Homes where that hurt done to us will be held and will build and purify in a way that when it is unleashed on those that caused it, well, I will leave the rest of that to you. Beside me, Sir Gervais de Montagne was at that blissful stage of drunkenness where most men become philosophers, or at the very least interesting. It was his answer to sadness and stress, you see. To get drunk. No, it's less complicated than that. To drink was Gervais' answer to bloody everything. Gervais found himself had become neither philosopher nor interesting. He had become loud and theatrically on this occasion. His ale-soaked breath made the air around him seem flammable. Or is it inflammable? I do not know which was the more precise term to use, I apologize for that. I'm a man of arms, you see. Arms, not words. He wobbled on his feet like a scarecrow with a balance problem and clutched a horn tankard with the fierce protectiveness of a man who feared someone might take it and replace it with, I don't know what. Perhaps, I don't know, responsibility? Now, you might think that for him to be drunk was unacceptable on this night as such, that he would be less in a fight if he were inebriated. If that's your thought, then you do not know Gervais de Montagne. He fights much better drunk than sober. Sober, he may become anxious or worried. Drunk, he is uncaring and a monster of a man. Tonight, if the men below were test ladders on our walls, they would be getting the best Gervais in response to that, I can assure you.
Well, well,
He slurred, jabbing a finger at the encamped army.
those bastards are crooked. The siege tower's leaning. It's practically inviting us to laugh, or is that me?
I took a sip of wine from a chipped bowl, and I did not laugh. Right now, I am not in a laughing mood. That tower might be crooked, Gervais, I said, but it still gets steadier every hour, unlike you.
Oh, how you wound me, William.
Gervais clutched his chest theatrically, then almost toppled off the parapet. I caught him by the collar. I grunted and managed to shove him in amongst the crenellations as 2 arrows bounced from the stonework into the evening. Gervais, well, he simply fell into mirth, he did.
You can't even hit a drunken dog.
He yelled from his now prone position. The men below let out a distant clamor. "We almost had you there," yelled one of their number.
You know, I like it better.
Gervais hiccuped.
You know, I liked it better when wars were about banners and insults and nobody actually gave a... What's that newfangled word? Gave a fuck.
I watched a column of pikemen form up on the road below, 2 bow lengths from where we sat. "They're using standard pattern assault tactics. 3rd cohort wedge. That's not a feudal rabble down there, Gervais." Gervais blinked blearily at me.
You speak like a man who's read a book in full, William.
"I've read 2, I have," I told him. "One of them had pictures in it, it did." Gervais got to his knees with some effort and found his loose helm, plonking it on his head as he peered out across the landscape as if it might all disappear if he glared at it hard enough.
Well, we've got archers, stones, boiling oil, some enthusiastic locals, and your bad temper. That should count for something against the Count. Count for something against the Count. The cock and the bastards.
He giggled. I drained my bowl, enjoying the warmth it brought me. "It counts for a long siege, and a lot of funerals. Possibly mine, as a matter of fact," I told the man. Gervais hiccuped again.
Well, if we die, at least it won't be in a monastery.
Said Gervais. I could hear the fear in his voice. "And if we live?" I asked the man. Gervais grinned, teeth wine-stained and eyes wild.
Then, William, then I want my own crooked siege tower with a wine cellar in its lowest part.
I sighed, somewhere between affection and despair for Gervais. Below us, the enemy made campfires. Above us, the stars blinked indifferently as we 2 knights, one drunk and one soon-to-be, stood atop a castle that might fall by morning, arguing over tactics, tower angles, and the proper way to die like gentlemen. Which, Gervais suspected, involved much less waiting around in the pissing rain. Fenrir, my wolf soul, now settled with us. He was at comfort, even in this scenario. Gervais, Lord Stephen was a wise man, you know.
Was he?
Yes, Gervais. You know, he once told me that in this life, you've only got 2 things to worry about. Whether you are healthy or whether you are sick. Gervais turned his cup upside down and got angered at his emptiness, and he reached for another bottle. And he said to me, if you're healthy, you got nothing to worry about. But if you're sick, you got 2 things to worry about.
Uh-huh.
Said the man, opening the latest bottle with his teeth, which in itself was impressive. If you are going to get better, or if you are going to die.
Let me make a guess at the next lines. If you're going to get better, then you have nothing to worry about. And if you are going to die, isn't it? You have 2 things to worry about, don't you?
He said, mimicking my accent badly. Correct. If you're going to die, you got 2 things to worry about.
Is this going to go much further? I have some serious drinking to focus on.
He asked. I ignored him and continued. If you lived a life of sin, or if you have lived a life of piety. If you've lived a life of piety, you got nothing to worry about. Gervais was stuck looking at me, impassive. I paused just long enough to make it annoying, because that is what friends do. If you've lived a life of sin, boy, you got two things to worry about. Whether you are forgiven, or whether you are damned.
Oh, for God's sake!
Gervais found the mouth of his cup on the second attempt, pouring a lot of the wine over his knees. And if you are forgiven, you got nothing to worry about, have you, eh? I told him as he gave up trying to get the wine into the cup and just supped from the bottle. But if you be damned, you got two things to worry about.
Please stop now, William, please.
Begged Gervais.
I beseech you. And if you do not stop, I will besiege you myself, William.
Whether you're boiled or fried in the very darkest pits of bloody hell itself. I carried on.
And people wonder why I bloody drink. What with your damn cheery stories, William? Stephen sounds like a most hilarious man. We got ladders on wall, Will.
Yelled Fan. Ladders! I yelled, and the call continued down the wall.
Down!
Yelled Fan as a warning. Arrows rattled at the top of the wall to clear it of defenders before the ladders were raised. The darkness and clouded moon had allowed a group to close on the gatehouse. I was glad Fen had been paying attention, as wooden thunks could be heard on the battlements, and the war cries of climbing men could be heard around us. Gervais was already at the edge, wrestling with a ladder, trying to throw it back to the ground before its climber summited. Unfortunately, the man gained its top as Gervais pushed it a couple of feet away from the wall's edge. The climber had an open helm and a dagger in his teeth to keep his hands free for the climb. Gervais had both hands full of the ladder and not weapon. But in a creative moment of splendor, he pulled the ladder back towards him with exceptional force and smashed the edge of his kettle helm directly into the mouth that held the dagger. As it did so, it smashed that mouth and sent the dagger cutting back through his jawline. The crunch of bone and teeth could be heard over all the chaos. Gervais then pushed the ladder away with a forceful grunt. The man at the top of the ladder managed to hold on to it as it described an arc of blood and teeth to the ground. The scream the wounded man made was an interesting one as he fell. That damaged face made it sound even more animalistic. I got to my ladder, sword drawn, as the man on it made the top. He took his dagger from his mouth and waited for my attack. He must have been told to hold the top until others got to him. Already behind him on the ladder, another helmeted head became visible. The man with his knife lunged as I plunged my sword through his chest and into the eye of the helmet behind him on the ladder. I then pushed the skewered man back to the battlement and the point at which his ladder had been raised. He screamed and reached for me with the dagger. It scored a groove in my shoulder plate as it struck, but it did not bite. With my extra strength as the werewolf, I launched the man and his compatriot backwards with their ladder into the night. My sword went with them. Shit! I cursed into the night. I fumbled for my hammer.
Well, behind you!
Yelled Fenrir. It was sadly too late, as another man slashed across my backplate, winding me slightly as I almost fell over the battlements with the strength of his blow. From my slightly prone position against the battlements, I tried to press myself back to standing, when again I felt the crash of a sword against my armor. I was floored on my front and desperate. In my struggle to get back to my feet, he would have time to find a space in my plate and make a home for the point of his blade. Of course, he would not kill me with this strike. It would take more than that to kill a monster like myself. But the pain and disablement that it would cause would be intense and significant. But the stab never came, and I got to my feet quickly to find my attacker lying, gurgling at my feet. An arrow was sunk deep in his throat. I smashed his face with my hammer. I took my anger out on him for his almost success. With 2 strikes, his head was a bloody pulp. I turned to find my savior, and there he was, Welly, with his bow, giving me a thumbs up as he turned to meet men on the part of the battlement where he found himself.
Well!
A shout brought me back into the moment. Whether it was Gervais or Fenrir, I did not know, but I re-entered the melee. Take no one alive! I yelled. Kill them all, and cast them from the battlement walls! This is no more than these bastards deserve for their actions this day.
Gervais. It was bloody work that night. Many died by my hand. Blood was washed from the ramparts of our bastion by the driving rain. The bastards were good fighters, if not good men. They had shepherded 15 of our defenders into the next world and grievously injured another 7. That left us with just 12 good men to protect this place. 12 great men would not be enough to stop another attack, such as that they offered. Tancerville had walked the battlements later and had much conversation between him and William. A very serious William came after it and took the cup from my hand. He was bleary-eyed and weary after much fight, conversation and worry. What is it that Tancerville wanted? I asked Will.
Welly!
He shouted.
Welly, I need you! We are at a sticking point, Gervais, and he has asked me to become my other self and harass the Count de Perigod this night.
Ah, I see. And how does that suit you? I asked.
It suits us greatly. Fenrir and I will enjoy a bloody-jawed night. Many of his camp will not wake at the dawn of the coming day. Welly, where are you, man?
He shouted again as he started to undo the buckles of the straps on his armor.
Give me your aid, will you, Gervais? The boy must be sleeping or something.
I downed the last of my tankard and moved to help the man remove his kit. Moments later, William now stood only in his underthings. He shivered in the night and stunk from the effort of the fight.
Do you want to go before I, change?
No, not on your cousin Nellie's life, I told him, as I filled my cup and sat to watch the show. A black mist suddenly enveloped his body and then entered him. It was as though a cloud of tiny flies surrounded him and then became part of him. One moment, there was a man, and then there was a demon. I drank deeply to quell my fear. He was now the most terrifying of creatures. He was part man, part wolf. A giant black silhouette in the night. He was not black, though. He was a lack of colour, a shadow. The light was sucked into that horrendous form. That horrific shape now stretched and opened those eyes. I had seen those eyes before, but That did not make it any easier for them to see. They were burning pits in the shadow. They were holes that showed you hell. The sweat that now broke my body, well, it was made from the fear of the hunted, as you are at the whim of the hunter. And then he let the beast rage. The noise he made was other. It told me of another time and place. I could see the devil's pit in those eyes, and I could hear the demons in his voice. I drank. I had to. This was the most real thing I'd seen, yet it was unreal and unholy. Please, wine, an ale, take my reason. The werewolf shadow gave me one more look before it simply stepped off the parapet into the dark. I prayed for forgiveness, not for me, for that which had arrived from hell. Screams rose from the Count's camp. I signed the cross on my chest and filled my cup as I listened to the horror.